On a festive Halloween night, innocent kids tragically lost their lives. This story began when the Halloween candy blood color became an original drop of blood.
It was 40 years ago tonight, a Halloween that changed everything.
Back in 1974 on Halloween night, a little rain wasn't going to stop Ronald Clark O'Bryan from taking his kids trick-or-treating. He lived near Deer Park, Texas with his wife, Dayneen, and their children, Timothy and Elizabeth. This Halloween night changed Ronald's life forever. What happened that night? Let's find out. But before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon. This way, you'll be notified to whenever we post new videos. Stay with us to the end to discover the key Halloween person in this story. Ron worked as an optician and a deacon at a Baptist church, performing in the choir and overseeing the parish bus program. People who knew him saw him as a great guy, a Christian man, and a good father. Halloween that year was just like any other. Even though Ronald wasn't much into Halloween in the past, this time he was excited to take his kids out for some trick-or-treating fun. They were joined by Jim Bates, a family friend, and his two children for their Halloween adventure. At one house, the kids went to the door, but there was no answer. Ronald hung back while the kids approached the next house. After a while, he caught up with them, holding 5 huge pixie sticks. These were sweet and sour powdered candies that came in a straw-like tube. He told the kids that the neighbors were home and that they were giving out some fancy treats.
Someone took it upon themselves to take the trust and the fun away from a lot of parents and a lot of children.
After returning to the Bates house, O'Bryan gave each of the 4 kids one candy and gave the last to a random trick-or-treater who had knocked on his door. Later that night, O'Bryan allowed his children to have one piece of candy before bed. Timothy chose the pixie stick, but the boy complained that the candy tasted strange, so O'Bryan gave him some Kool-Aid to wash it down. Within moments, Timothy cried out, saying his stomach hurt. O'Bryan left the room for just half a minute, and when he returned, he found Timothy in the bedroom convulsing, vomiting, and struggling to breathe. Tragically, the young boy passed away on the way to the hospital less than an hour after eating the candy.
A jury took less than an hour to convict O'Bryan, an hour and 5 minutes to sentence him to death.
When they took Timothy's body to the morgue, the medical examiner noticed a smell of almonds coming from his mouth, which can be a sign of cyanide poisoning. After a detailed examination, they confirmed that Timothy had ingested enough potassium cyanide to kill 2 or 3 adults. The police found that the other 4 pixie sticks, which hadn't yet been eaten, had discovered that someone had replaced the top 2 inches with cyanide granules.
Called the Candyman, a Pasadena father of 2 who passed out poison candy to trick-or-treaters Halloween night 1974.
Forensic psychologist and private investigator Joni Johnston said people who use poison to harm others often lack empathy. They plan their actions carefully and use a cold, calculating approach. Poisoning is a tool for those who are sneaky and cunning, not for those who are physically or verbally aggressive. They may appear polite on the surface and can deceive people. According to this statement, the doubt went to Ronald, and he was not an aggressive man, but very calm and a good person. But what was he inside? Nobody knew.
Police learned O'Bryan had just taken out life insurance policies for his children.
Investigators had O'Bryan and Bates go back to Halloween night to retrace their steps. O'Bryan gave different stories about which house gave out the poisoned candy. The outcome of their investigation was shocking and surprised the whole community. Investigators quickly found out about O'Bryan's money troubles and uncovered a shocking investigation.
It had all his bills written out next to the numbers. On a added machine tape, he had added them all up, and it came to almost the exact amount of what he stood to collect.
They also discovered a strip of paper from an adding machine. On it, O'Bryan had written the amounts of bills, and the total nearly matched the sum he expected to get from the insurance. As the police kept looking, they discovered that Ronald had asked about buying cyanide from some companies. He even made jokes about how much it would take to kill someone. They also found a knife with candy in his house, which they thought he used to poison the pixie sticks. Even though he acted innocent, he didn't pass a lie detector test, so they arrested him on November 5th, 1974. After being declared guilty, O'Bryan tried to challenge his conviction several times, even taking it to the Supreme Court twice. According to the DeWitt, the legal questions about the death penalty were less clear back then. However, O'Bryan couldn't deceive anyone anymore. And on June 3, 1975, a Harris County jury found him guilty of murder and sentenced him to death in less than an hour of discussion. In 1979, DeWitt prepared the final appeal for O'Bryan. He described the facts as extensive and terrible. DeWitt remembers saying, "If these facts don't support a death sentence, then there will never be such facts." Over time, DeWitt developed doubts about the death penalty. Despite his appeals, O'Bryan was executed on March 31, 1984 by lethal injection at Texas State Penitentiary in Huntsville. His last words, "What is about to happen to me is wrong. I will forgive all those who are a part of my death." O'Bryan is now remembered by nicknames like the Man Who Killed Halloween and the Candyman.
He returned the pixie sticks to the children. Later that night, Timothy O'Bryan died from eating a poisoned pixie stick.
Death of young Timothy. It was later shown that the youngster had died of It's what? What, the witness?
He never admitted to his crimes, but there are theories about why he chose Halloween and poisoned candy for his terrible act. Some believe he knew about the Halloween poison legends and cynically thought that by using cyanide-laced candy, he could shift suspicion from himself to some anonymous boogeyman, suggested by Halloween expert David Skall. Almost 50 years later, people still remember this story. It's like a ghost that haunts Halloween. Experts say we shouldn't be scared of Halloween. There's no proof that Halloween makes people do bad things like poison candy. The scary stories about Halloween candy are just made up. So, what can we learn from this chilling tale? It reminds us how someone can do really bad things in secret. We need to look out for our loved ones and keep them safe.
Less than an hour to convict O'Bryan. An hour and 5 minutes to sentence him to death.
We should be careful with who we trust. Halloween is not something to be scared of. It's all about having fun and getting treats. So with that being said, remember us this Halloween, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to stay notified. I love y'all, stay safe, peace.